Vortex viewers are invited to a special taping with Michael Voris and Canadian broadcaster Michael Corin at the Detroit studios of RealCatholicTV.com on Tuesday, June 14th at 7 p.m. Michael Voris was a guest on Michael Corin's Canadian TV show a couple of months ago and has now authored a provocative book entitled Why Catholics Are Right. So join the two Michaels right here in our studio for what is sure to be a spirited and lively taping, as well as book signing opportunity. For further details, click on the link. Hello and welcome to today's edition of Catholic News Roundup. I'm Matthew McAuliffe. Before we get into today's news, just a quick reminder that we now have a resource page attached to RealCatholicTV.com containing additional news stories and other resources from our stories right here, as well as commentary on current events in Catholic culture happening all around the world. To check it out, go to realcatholictv.blogspot.com by clicking on the link right next to the video screen. And now for today's news. No rights for Kiwis Unborn. After a 6-year courtroom standoff, New Zealand's appellate court has declared that the unborn have no right to life. The organization Right to Life brought suit in 2005 against the Abortion Supervisory Committee for not regulating abortions according to the law. Abortions are only allowed in New Zealand if the mother's mental or physical health is in danger or if the child is at risk of being handicapped. However, the majority of patients are said to be admitted under false claims and not properly investigated, if at all. Appellate court judges are declaring openly that the unborn have no legal right to live, dismissing any allegations of illegally performed abortions, citing a lack of patient complaints. Archdiocese of Boston imploding. Following a crackdown by the Vatican against closing churches without grave reason, the Archdiocese of Boston is attempting a radical change in structure. The Cardinal, Sean O'Malley, is planning on grouping Beantown's 291 churches into as few as 80 clusters. The Associated Press reports that 40% of parishes in the Archdiocese will not be able to pay their bills this year, one of several statistics suggesting that the closure of some churches will be unavoidable in the future. The website CatholicCulture.org also says that many wonder if this isn't the Archdiocese's way of not having to directly order the closing of more churches themselves, in sidestepping the Vatican mandate. Kinetic action maims thousands. The so-called kinetic military action taken by the United States and NATO has taken a huge toll on innocent civilians. Asian News says 700 are dead in Tripoli and 4,000 have been injured as missiles are being continuously fired into the city. Monsignor Martinelli, the Bishop of Tripoli, says that the city lacks fuel and people are terrified of leaving their homes, while psychological damage caused by the explosions is growing. However, he praised a Filipino immigrant community, 3,000 strong, for acting charitably throughout the war-torn area and attending Mass even though explosions are rocking churches during liturgy. NATO announced a 90-day extension on the bombardment last week. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a few seconds.
Catholic News Roundup is brought to you in part by NewOxfordReview.org, the voice of Catholic Orthodoxy, in print and on the web, and RenewAmerica.com, expanding the influence of America's grassroots in the cause of freedom.
Public prayer defended. A Texas appellate court has ruled in favor of a high school valedictorian who wanted to invoke a moment of prayer in her graduation speech. The court had originally ruled in favor of an agnostic couple who claimed that such public expression of faith would do what they called irreparable damage to their son. The president of Liberty Institute, who represented the high school in this case, reiterated the final decision saying, quote, "No citizen has the right to ask the government to bind and gag the free speech of another citizen," end quote. Texas Attorney General Greg Abbott also filed a brief with the court in support of prayer at the school, saying it shouldn't be illegal for students to say a prayer at a graduation ceremony. Pope focuses on family. Pope Benedict XVI is traveling in Croatia on his 19th apostolic trip abroad. The Holy Father has chosen to focus on the protection of the family when speaking to Croatia's 4.4 million people, 90% of whom are Catholic. According to Reuters news service, the Holy Father is concerned about growing anti-Catholicism in Europe, saying, quote, "We are forced to acknowledge the spread of a secularization which leads to the exclusion of God from life and the increasing disintegration of the family, especially in Europe. I'm Matthew McCullough. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure and tune in tomorrow for your daily dose of Catholic News Roundup right here on RealCatholicTV.com. And be sure to check out The Vortex today, where Michael will be talking about convincing the world. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure and tell all your friends about us. And as always, God bless.
Catholic News Roundup is brought to you in part by PewSitter.com, your online Catholic newspaper for the third millennium. CatholicMediaCoalition.org, in line with the Church, online with the world.
And TheAmericanCatholic.com, politics and culture from a Catholic perspective.